listeners in podcast land. It's Left Look. Today is Sunday, February 26th of 2023, and it's me with my friends. I'm Julian, and I have Jacob.
Hello, brother Julian.
And DJ.
Hello. Julian, are you feeling okay over there?
I would never feel better.
You sure?
You sound like shit.
Yeah, you're looking a little pale.
Don't make me laugh.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I am sick.
What our listeners are in for an audiophile experience this day, as Julian sputters and snuffles and coughs into the mic. No big deal. We love him. We love that he's here anyways. And fuck anybody who gets mad about shit like that on a no funding podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Glad
if you thought the
established.
episode where I forgot to upload my track was bad, you're in for a treat here.
I really hate that. We should take that down.
For all of
Anyways.
our Patreon supporters, look forward to the ASMR upload where Julian eats chicken noodle soup. Really loud.
There's the most successful. I have an admission to make, a confession maybe even, and that's that I've been part of the ASMR community since like its inception. Many of the millions of the people with millions of followers I've been supporting since like the 10s or 40Ks in the 2009 era, right?
Oof.
And also, I'm still deep in it. I know all like basically every creator. I just like it. I don't know what does that say. And there are some people who are really artsy and creative with it. I forgot why. I forgot where I was going with this.
Maybe
Julian's doing ASMR, right? The most popular mukbang ASMR, which is the term for anyone who just eats food, is just this 50-year-old retired guy. He's like maybe 55, 60 actually, and he's just like very average-looking, squat. He kind of looks like a toad. He's got really round glasses. I'm not trying to like shit on the guy. I'm just trying to describe him, right?
Yeah.
And he just is like the most positive, innocent man, and he just eats like the most amount of fucking fast food that you can believe. Like the newest fast food release every day from any chain. He's just like, yeah, I'm there. I'm there for that.
Nice.
It's very weird.
Living my dream.
You could do that, Julian. He has to die eventually, and those videos have to be made every day. So
a worthy successor.
I guess an AI will probably just like recreate it every once he dies. I'm sure he'll sign away the rights to his own identity to like a conglomeration of fast food chains, and they will AI recreate him eating their new fucking shit releases of whatever, like the Doritos Los Tacos burger, and you and you will just see this man's spirit shell be like, it's pretty good, a little spicy.
Yeah, that's crazy that there's we're just at the point now where these AIs are doing pretty convincing jobs of recreating people's voices, but the nuance of someone eating, it's not far behind, obviously.
No, like I can't imagine that kind of development is more than a year out. Right now, the way that people are in the comments of any AI, a meme that I see, they say no stuttering. That's how you can tell the difference between the AI voices and the regular voices. Is that AIs have no ability to stutter, and no ums and ahs and shit like that. And I am sure that is like maybe 3 or 4 months out, and that like food and eating while talking is maybe a year behind that.
Like, I can see, coming from my perspective, right, before this whole AI thing was a big deal, used to be with synthesized voices, it would be part of the producer's job to add in breath sounds. To indicate, a pause, an inhalation, an exhalation. AI's clearly done that. It does it really well right now. But I can see there being an interim period where it's the producer's job to shove in stutterings and vowel stops, imperfections in speech, until the AI goes like, oh yeah, I got that. Don't worry.
Now, Julian, do you think you could create an algorithm that does like not a bad job at that? No. Every 3 words, every other time after a comma, every time after a semicolon, and then just through that, it would just appear natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like the stutter stop kind of randomness that I could weave through some ridiculously minor algorithm.
Yeah, no, I could not personally, but AI can't be far behind with how much money is being thrown at it.
And I say I could do that. I mean, I could tell somebody to do that, and it's possible. I mean by that.
Yeah, a layman could do it.
It's Left Look. This is a premier independent podcast from the Gatto Institute, where we will be taking a look at Canadian and international arts, culture, and entertainment to provide you with an unbiased left-wing perspective. Il s'agit de premier podcast indépendant de l'Institut Gatto au nous pencherons sur les arts, la culture et divertissement canadien et international pour vous offrir une perspective impartiale et de gauche. Nice.
More like farts, vulture, and vaintertainment. Am I right? No,
You're so fucking right, man.
Hell yeah.
I have large parts of my family that are dual linguistic, so I should just ask them, like, to translate that. I'm sure Charles would appreciate the new Percheron disappearing. I'm sure we might even be canceled for that if we seek high business acumen or even political office one day, that we just like didn't bother to learn the French correctly.
No, if they desire us, there'll be a translator on site.
Yeah, I think it's cute for now. We leave it, but
it's amateurish. It's endearing.
It is endearing. It will show us as a progression. Like, you can hear it through the audio quality, but then our ideas will become more consistent as we continue to talk about them week to week, and our ability to, empathize with each other and create new thoughts will be more dramatically increased.
Yeah, ideally, but I'm actually a sleeper agent, and my job here is to make my ideas less coherent every week.
Julian's an actual sleeper agent, and his job is to, at any point in time, try and emphasize the fact that I'm a Hitler in his mind.
No. You don't need my help.
See, how can that not be your objective when you see the world that way? But anyway,
it's just the longest running game of Secret Hitler anyone's ever played.
We are once again on the path to canceling one of us this week.
Yeah,
that'd make a fun board game.
Canceling?
Yeah, it needs something to be like along the same lines, but it needs something more snappy. Cancel culture.
Blue-haired liberal.
Yeah, something like that. Somebody you've got to cancel one of the players. Find out who the blue-haired liberal amongst the group is who keeps canceling everyone else.
You are in an online group chat, and it's just like a card drawing game.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
God, yeah.
Yeah, or like it's your like university school group chat or something. Something where like young people are forced to be.
That's amazing. That makes so much money.
Oh yeah, for sure. You just milk the like middle class liberal demographic.
No, the Republicans. You're leaning into like the wealthier set of suburban Republicans.
Regardless of politics, just like
liberals. They are liberals.
Like all middle class people would eat that up. They'd go, haha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we start with your essay, Jacob, that you put in the group chat there?
Don't really want to.
Okay.
You want to start with trains? Trains are cool.
Yeah, let's talk about fucking trains.
I love trains. Julian, may I ask what the train topic is? Because I could lead in with like a good segue.
Okay. I was gonna compare and contrast the Ohio train derailment with a Canadian event.
Cool.
Can you hold on before we get to your really valid point, DJ? I'd like to do a stupid one. How can you refer to it as the Ohio incident and not the East Palestine incident? Like, there's so many jokes that are just fucking instantly applicable there.
Yeah. not gonna lie, when the article first came up on my end, I sat there and squinted at it, like, what? Which,
Oh,
what?
I feel the whole world did that. No one will, admit to it. But like,
Well, I
I'd like
saw
to
that.
know that. I'd like to know the naming history behind that. Did they name that in, like recognition of the Arab struggle there, or is it just like in recognition that that's where Jerusalem is? Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
hard to
don't know.
say. It'd have to be like a local census
I
taken.
would like to just mention that I saw the meme of those two big interlocking fists, those two muscly
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
and then one arm was Israel and the other's Norfolk Southern, and the middle is just destroying Palestine.
You destroying East Palestine? Yeah, fuck me. That's so good.
Oh, that's savage.
Mm.
Uh, it is
So
terrible.
to get us on track, here, talking about trains, Via recently sent out, and they're doing this whole publicity stunt on their new train,
Oh
that
yeah.
they've commissioned. They've been using the same train since the 50s, and only just now, 70 years later, are they introducing a new train into their lines. And so they just put out a virtual tour, take a virtual tour of the train. And I've been pretty excited for this new train as a person who often takes the train
Yeah.
here.
Sorry, can I cut in quick? When you say new
Yeah.
train, you mean like train cars? Like passenger
Yes.
cars?
So I'm pretty sure the engines are also new, but they haven't been talking about them.
Okay.
I gotta say, trains are one of those things that like they last a while, decades even. You know
Oh,
what I
for
mean?
sure, for sure. And they've been refurbished. I don't mean to say that it's to speak ill of them not having new trains. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's a big deal for them.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is like a big thing for
Gotcha.
Via. Um, so yeah, take a virtual tour of the train cars, just the passenger cars. And yeah, I've been pretty excited. Looks pretty interesting. They were talking about them being roomier and just overall having better amenities, better access for physically impaired individuals.
Oh yeah.
And
Amazing.
yeah, so I'm doing this virtual tour, and first thing they show you is business class, obviously, because I want you to see the good stuff. And okay, yeah, it's business class. Of course, it looks good, looks
Mm.
spacious. Uh, man, economy class. I'm so disappointed now. I'm so unexcited. I'm pretty sure it's less spacious. It looks way more cramped. I don't know if that's like the virtual camera,
That
Yeah.
hurts. That's the market delivering progress for us, right? Like,
right?
shouldn't public amenities like improve over time? Shouldn't there be like more space for you on the train because the train
Yeah.
moves faster and more efficiently and more people or whatever? Like,
Yeah, and I'm
give me a
pretty
break.
sure these cars are bigger was the big deal. They're like they support more capacity, but instead of giving people more space, they just crammed in more seats.
Yeah.
What if instead of a business class where they have like a literal like half a car to themselves, we made like tons, like as many individual doorway fucking accessible little apartments as possible on
Yeah,
trains, and there
why'd
was
we
only
get rid
one
Oh.
class.
of berth traveling, of cabin traveling?
Yeah,
Such a
a
short-sighted.
lost art.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of lost art, sorry, Julian, I think you were going to say something, but I want to say this before I
Yep.
forget. Man, the cars are just, they're ugly. They're so ugly.
The
Mm.
new ones?
The current cars have this like 80s grungy charm, it's got like all this metal and the seats have like been retrofitted 6 times over the past 40 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's a certain charm. There's like an old-timey, the train is a vehicle where you want to be comfortable, right?
Mm.
Where you're going to sit and you're going to spend a lot of time going from place A to place B.
Mm.
But these new ones are just so slick. They're so sleek. There's just white everywhere.
Ugh.
Everything's
Ugh.
white or gray, and it just feels so. Here's your dystopian commuter
How much
moving object.
glass? Like how much
Yeah.
window? No, how much window is there?
How much window? I don't quite remember because they had all of they had the blinds down
Mm.
in the little tour.
Were
So
the blinds significantly big? Extrapolate.
I don't know how. I mean, they seem to be the same like
Just full
height.
sized, eh?
Yeah, just the same height as you would imagine as on a train, like shoulder level to ceiling and then whatever. Well, however they cross between seats, I couldn't really gauge with the curtains down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my professor used to describe it as the the opposition between brutalism and democratic art forms.
Mm-hmm.
Like the democratic, like just to relate it to buildings, because I know buildings better. Like the democratic building is mostly made of glass and seems to be visible, but like nothing is accessible in it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
whereas brutalism is a fortress, but you can go in whenever you want. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah, it does.
mm-hmm.
It does kind of like thinking about it that way. These new cars do kind of balance that in a way.
The old cars sound more brutalistic to me, even though they obviously were not designed with brutalism in mind. You know what I mean?
No, but just that, that 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was such a big thing in the 80s, right? And I don't know. There's just so much charm that they just sanded away that I don't know. It feels I don't look at these new cars and go, boy, I can't wait to get on one. I just
Are
think,
they
oh,
significantly faster or anything like that? Is there any upside to all this fucking washing away of the aesthetic?
yeah, here's the rub, right? These new trains, the new engines they've got, they are a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. They have a much higher top speed than the old one.
But the rails.
They'll never get
Yeah.
able, yeah, they'll never be able to use that top speed because they don't own the rails and they would never be able to go that fast even if they did because of how stupidly our rail system is laid out.
Oh my god. We have decrepit rails. What kind of society builds rails and then goes, nah, don't need that shit no more? The fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there should be more trains every year,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. Like, I don't understand how, like, we are nowhere near the train limit, in my opinion,
No,
right?
yeah, absolutely. You can thank Ford for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's my tip of the iceberg about trains, and Julian is going to talk about something important.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's important because it's old news now, but I was thinking
Well,
about how. Sorry. Yeah.
sorry. It is important because East Palestine's going on, right? So when we relate this old news, which happened 2013,
Yeah.
it bobs. Don't undercut yourself.
Well, yeah. It's just it's tough for me to come to terms with the fact that it was 10 years ago now. It doesn't really feel like that, but yeah, we're talking about let's pronounce this correctly because it's French. The
Want to help?
The Lac Megantic, right?
Yeah, Lac Megantic rail disaster, which is in
Right.
Quebec.
And I think it speaks a little bit, maybe not volumes, maybe like one issue that the three of us, without Julian saying it, the three of us are like, oh yeah, that one, right?
Yeah, I had no idea this happened.
Oh, okay. So like Julian's primer was the first time you'd heard about this. Okay.
My opinions on labor and unions and all that are very set, and I also tend to not focus on what's it called, domestic politics very much. So it's not surprising to me that I've missed this.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So the Ohio East Palestine train derailment was in the news, and it's a tragedy. It's the result of criminal negligence of corporations, and
Not a tragedy then.
well, I mean, it's tragic that our society's come to this.
I guess.
That's kind of what I meant. But yeah, huge, just massive fucking cloud of toxic smoke, and all the animals are dead, and
It's raining acid.
It's spectacular. But I was struck by the fact that nobody actually died in the derailment. Everybody's going to die early. Like, 2,500 people are going to die early now, but nobody actually died from the train derailing. And I thought about this the train derailment in Lac Megantic because 47 people died, like, almost instantly after the train derailed.
Mm-hmm.
And just a quick run through from what I've recalled here is the train was parked well outside of town. I think it was being operated by two people. It's a 73-car train.
Sorry to interrupt, Julian. This is with regards to the train in Ohio.
This is in Canada.
Okay, so
Lac
the old
Megantic.
one.
Yes, I don't know the details of the Ohio one quite this well. I also don't.
I'm gonna do it after.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this Canadian train is parked well outside of town. There were two operators. They'd been on the shift for like longer than was legal, so they're being overworked, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty typical in the train industry, from what I've come to understand. And they did not set enough handbrakes on that train. Which, it's incredible to me that they still have to manually set handbrakes on a train like this, but that's beside the point.
That's going to be important when I do the Ohio bit, but to me it's not at all.
And then it says here, at 1:15 a.m., the 73-car train started rolling towards this town of Lac Megantic. Picked up speed. It was rolling at, I don't know, like 70 clicks or something. Rolls right into the downtown core of the city, tips over, explodes because it's carrying crude oil. I think all 73 cars were crude oil. I could be mistaken on that.
73 bombs.
Yeah. And, yeah, so there's an initial explosion, but then after that, just a trainload of flaming oil spills downhill through this town, wipes out every structure it encounters, and kills 47 people. It's like, huh?
47 immediately. There's nothing here about the ecological effects or like the lingering effects on the communities around it. Nothing. You know what I mean?
Not to mention the psychological trauma.
Yeah. You know, that's a disaster that little town will carry with it forever now.
Well, maybe 1,000 years. I was just kidding. Forever is pretty good.
That's functionally forever, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that, you know, these problems that Ohio's having now, they're not new problems. You know, this happened 10 years ago, and nothing has changed fundamentally in the railway industries.
Well, nothing ever changed, just to transition to the Ohio East Palestine thing, in Canada at least. In East Palestine, they're not around oil, but around more, even more dangerous chemicals, like the chemical that went off in, I don't remember the chemical that went off in East Palestine. I don't need to remember it. I know it was bad. That's good enough. But there was a bill that the Obama administration passed to upgrade the locking mechanisms that these handbrakes were talking about from the model that had been used since the Civil War, basically, with a newer pneumatic locking mechanism that was specified only for these like Class A or Grade A, whatever, chemicals that are so dangerous that if they blow up will just, instantly make it 2,500 people lose 30 years off their lives or whatever the fucking stats are from East Palestine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Trump comes back into office and he nixes that requirement for the train industry, right? And so that what happened in East Palestine is like a direct consequence of a decision recently by the President Trump. So that's like the difference there. We never bothered to try. Well, I guess they never bothered with oil either, but we've never bothered to try and upgrade the safety here because it's just an expense in the administration's view, right? Conservative or liberal.
Yeah.
And but I got to return back to East Palestine because the politics there are interesting because it's Trump's fault, as I just said, right? Mm-hmm. But because Joe Biden just a couple months ago put down the train strikes, right, with like executive action and threat of force, right? This is bad news for him right now. This is a hot potato, and he don't want to touch it. You know what I mean? And so he's not been there. He sent Pete Buttigieg to make like the fucking weakest of fucking statements about how the rail industry should submit themselves to better regulation. Stop fighting us so litigiously or something like that. I think the quote is fucking Pete.
Well, it was like, well, trains derail every day. Huh?
Oh, no, they do not.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about trains.
But anyways, because they've handled the unions the strike so badly, and Joe Biden doesn't want to be there. Trump showed up in East Palestine and bought everyone in the local McDonald's Big Macs as they were there. You know what I mean? He secured that community and possibly Ohio with that action, right?
Yeah.
And that's the messaging that comes out of this political fucking tragedy, I guess, like you were referring to in the beginning, that Trump will come ahead of this tragedy. The Republicans, who are the most responsible for this type, like the conservative ideology that infests the world, right? The libertarian, full capitalism, full corporate governance ideology, it will be rewarded as a result of the East Palestine fucking operation.
Yep.
That's crazy to me. It's crazy. We live in a time where worker power is completely bereft. There is no hope for labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting that this this derailment could have been prevented if the workers just had struck and, weren't driving trains.
Yeah, right? And if they had struck, they might have gotten the safety requirements, because unions always are looking to improve safety requirements, because it synergizes with their agenda of improving their members' interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it also improves the fucking corporation's efficiency, as is proven time and time again, right? Like, the reparations that will need to be paid based on these incidents will be in the millions and millions of dollars, right? And that just comes from taxpayers, right? The government's just going to write that off for no reason, right? Like, the investment to switch to those pneumatic brakes would be peanuts, nothing in the bill, but because we are ideologically prohibited from taking those stances, there just will never be any improvement on this.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the reparations, because Norfolk Southern did offer, I think it was
$25,000. Yeah, I saw
$250. Yeah, for the residents, which equates to $1,000 per person.
Yeah.
Your town has been irreparably poisoned. You're going to die early. Here's $1,000.
Norfolk Southern won't pay a dime, but I bet you the government ends up paying. They will sue the government. That will be the path forward.
Hopefully.
Ministerial oversight. Why is that? Hopefully, people in the corporation should go to prison for life. Right? Is like the most extreme position that I should be able to take online. But I do think they should be able to die. Right? They made this decision. They understood the consequences. Right? These are grown ass men wielding state power. Right? They're fully educated. They've been in their industry for 20, 30 years. People should die over this, right? That they committed atrocities against their own citizens, right? That's the news here. Mm-hmm. And it's the same in Canada, but I just have no fucking recollection of this happening. So,
and you mentioned the braking systems.
mm-hmm.
It would have cost Norfolk Southern, I think it was $2 billion to upgrade every car in their fleet with the new braking systems, electronic brakes. And that equates to 2 weeks of net operating profit.
2 weeks of net. Wow.
Yeah. So it was incredibly affordable for them to have prevented this, but
yeah.
That's what? Mental math. What, 4% off your bottom line, and you just can't handle that?
Yeah, that should be slam dunk for my position. That this was a choice. This is murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the most extreme position that we're allowed to take in polite society is that they should go to prison for life, and I accept that. But in reality, people should die over this.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people probably are, and it's not the ones that should be held accountable.
Yeah. There should be a bald guy with glasses and a tie who should go to jail for life over this, right? And the 2013 one, but I think oil is not taken seriously enough by the industry writ large to be comparable to the East Palestine, is what I read from the thing. Oil is seen as just so not as dangerous as these Class A or whatever they call them chemicals that to demand the pneumatic fucking brakes or electronic. I think you said, Julian. I've been calling them new. So to demand the electronic brakes for like the fleets of fucking oil cars may be out of reach, right? But these like specific chemicals should be like totally reachable.
Mm-hmm. I think even regardless of reachability, there's clearly like a safer, more efficient, more effective way of doing this. And the fact that the reason we're not is because it'll cost money is such a disgusting notion.
Right?
That's just hideous.
I don't know. I mean, I agree, but like there are realities when you are running an empire.
For sure.
Trains are.
There's realities, but they're all evil. You know, oh no, my bottom line. My money.
Yeah. You should have to understand that you're making evil decisions, but if you like make obviously evil decisions, like evil decisions without any real justification, that should be the difference, right? Like there's no good way to run the world, I guess is what I was going to say.
Yeah. Like there are situations where you're constrained between, you know, harming
deaths and
one
deaths.
group over harming another group because your resources are just limited. But this isn't one of those situations.
No, it isn't. It is not. Exactly. Yeah. The trains do deal with those situations, right? Not everyone can have the first class accommodations that I was describing earlier, and that's just the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
But but the decision to go all fucking economy and have like a servant class accommodation, that's also not something that can be justified. So they play outside the bounds of fucking reason, or I guess what polite society should accept.
Yep.
Yee.
All right, well, I think we covered trains pretty good.
Trains are great.
Trains are great, but how about planes? How do you two feel about planes?
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty good.
Trains, Planes, and Automobiles is a good movie.
Yeah?
I never saw it.
John Candy and Steve Martin.
Which is a shame, because I love all three of those things. And John Candy.
Yeah. I feel like I should have seen it too. I think I've seen the ending.
There's a famous scene that's pretty famous on YouTube where John Candy's driving and Steve Martin's half asleep, and then John Candy becomes the devil. It's pretty funny.
We should do that for our next film review, since we talk about the three things so often.
Yeah, we should do a film review again soon. What was the film I suggested recently? The Menu. Right?
Yeah.
And then also that Vonnegut film.
Oh yeah, the right, the one where
the one with Samwise Gamgee.
Right. I totally forget the title of it. I remember reading the Wikipedia page too, but
yeah, I only wanted to do that one because we're getting off topic. Just do planes.
No,
we'll do a movie review.
It's good.
We'll do a movie review one day.
We will one day, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, planes. They're crazy. They're like trains in the sky that aren't on rails, and they have wings, and they carry stuff. And that last point is probably the only similarity. But
in case you were fuzzy on what planes are.
Yeah, those things that you see in the sky that are kind of noisy, and you squint around and you can never find them. And
the ones that make the chemtrails.
Yeah.
Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Yeah. The vapor trails are a very big giveaway.
They're causing the frogs to go gay. Did you know that?
Yeah. Gay frogs, which is definitely something frogs haven't done as a weird amphibious species that can change its sex as needed.
I wish I could believe in really crackpot conspiracy theories. Anyways,
you can. You just gotta dig in, right?
No.
Those freaking gay frogs.
I'm ontologically and epistemologically prohibited from fucking believing things like that. Unfortunate.
Maybe one day. Maybe when the chemicals from Ohio get up here.
Yep, I'll have our own train accident.
Yeah. Just the fumes.
You have to bleep
Anyways.
that out, Julian.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hang on, 35 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Work for Julian.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so planes. I read this article recently. I guess I ought to share some info on it since I'm the accountable one at this point.
Yeah, a reading series from DJ.
The reading series. This one's just a mini series. We don't even need a stinger for this one because we had a natural segue. This one is on cntraveler.com. It is titled, Can Aviation Ever Be Sustainable? Written by J.D. Shadle, unsure. And it was published on the 1st of February, so about a month ago.
All right.
That's how long it's been sitting on my on my web page here.
I like that you have reserves like that. That's good.
Yeah,
Only if it's something really worthwhile.
You're such an article head too.
I if it catches my eye, I do try to dive in. Anyways, the article's pretty short. It doesn't really. It's got some really like somebody went to town on these graphic design illustrations. They're not. They move and they're not good, but somebody clearly just photoshopped these. But they're pretty. They're really pretty. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. The article kind of just delves into the world of creating or attempting to create in the society we have presently a less terribly fumey industry out of aviation. I think the article quotes something like here it is, yeah. Estimated to make up around 3.5% of all human-caused climate impact is the aviation industry in itself.
Okay. I'd love to see a pie chart breakdown of that into commercial transport, human transport, and then military.
Yeah,
3.5 is not so bad.
No, 3.5% is huge for such
an
insignificant economic thing like fucking plane travel.
Yeah. There's some more stats here, and Jacob saying that not a lot of people fly.
No, it's like for executive class people, right?
Yeah, this article quotes, best estimate suggests 80% of the world's population has never flown.
Well, how many of us have been on a flight? You've ever been on a flight, DJ?
Yes, once. It was a very short one.
I've never been on one. Julian, I think, has been on a couple.
Oh, yeah, I fucking hop around all the time.
Yeah, it is exceedingly convenient.
Yeah,
given that my one trip on a plane was from Toronto to Halifax.
Julian lives in buttfuck Northern Ontario, so he has to plane. I forgot.
They have terminated bus and train service to my city, so
yeah, which is crazy to me, and even more of a reason to
move.
To move, maybe that's Julian's prerogative, but to examine clearly this is a big deal if we're using it so much. Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile initiative to look into alternatives to maybe not circumventing aviation, but reevaluating how it
mitigating at least.
Yeah, how it's fueled, and and that's another good point. Looking for other options, looking for alternatives to aviation that are less.
Like how many white men are flown to China or Japan every day that could probably be done in an email? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Or even, does that meeting have to be so urgent?
Yes.
What happened to the old couple-week-long boat trip?
Yeah, honestly, why not make them take a boat trip if it's that important? You know what I mean? You're not that important to be fucking launched into the sky over continents. That's what we're saying to you. You now get on the boat, right?
Yeah, and maybe we should reserve aviation to the the apex of oh, somebody needs to, like, you need to get here fast. Okay,
Hmm.
take the plane.
Yeah.
Presidents and emergencies. You know what I
Organ
mean? Like,
transplants.
yes.
Yeah, and
Uh,
even then, like, the petty tours the president goes on, like, oh, took a plane cross country. No, put that man on the train. Get that man. There's a presidential train. I've seen it. Put him on the train and get him over there.
Wait,
uh,
have you actually seen it?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
Oh,
I think
dope.
political realities being what they are, you need to be able to be anywhere at any time for a photo op. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
trade tours
politics
would
is
go.
a kabuki. Called politics is a kabuki theater. Yeah, but what happens if you're in New York and then the East Palestine explosion happens, but it's in fucking like outside of Los Angeles? You know what I mean? You got to fucking go, or Hawaii for that matter.
Yeah, I'm not
No,
saying I'm saying that would be the event in which the plane's brought out. But the president just oh, I gotta make a visit to New York to kiss babies. Okay, get
yeah, I'm
that
with you there.
get that
Air
idiot on the
Force
train.
Air Force One is like a spectacular waste of wealth. Like the amount of fucking air security that it gets, the amount of fuel that it wastes on supporting its own security systems, right? It's just like crazy to me. Crazy. But whatever. Continue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And part of that reason is jet fuel. Can't cut through steel beams, but wow, is it stinky. It burns very, I mean, relative to other petroleum, I think it's cleaner, but
No,
it's
it's among the worst, but it's just
is
not
it?
as bad as some other shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. It's absolute garbage. Burning petroleum's
It's not like what comes out of cows' mouths. What's
yeah,
that?
no, it's
Methane.
it's heinous,
Methane.
toxic mess that's thrown
Met
into our atmosphere.
I think it's like just below methane on the chart of really bad chemicals we put in the air.
Yeah,
But
really bad.
but also that goes along with that, jet fuel is the only uh, resource that can support the economy of launching so many people into the fucking skies all the time. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I
Yeah.
just stole your thunder on that, though. My
Well,
bad.
not really. No, it's kind of a cyclical thing. And to be honest, I was kind of going away from that because a big thing this article talks about is trying to find a way to essentially get rid of jet fuel.
Can't
And
be done.
that's kind of the thing right now. Right now, it definitely can't be done. And
Never. What about military
would you
purposes?
shut up for a second and let me finish?
Sorry.
Jesus. Right now, it's pretty much an impossible task because there's so much investment in fossil fuel, right? And nobody wants to change the aviation industry because the aviation industry is earning billionaires billions by the day.
Hmm.
So you're absolutely right, Jacob. Not right now, but there are initiatives, as there are these days, to deal with it. And I say that with a lot of resignation because most of what this article ends up talking about is SAF, synthetic aviation fuel.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
ethanol.
So essentially, their alternative to burning jet fuel is to make their own out of, I don't fucking know,
Corn.
corn. Yeah, corn,
Yeah.
right? Corn, tomatoes, which is just such a stupid thing. This article briefly brings up solar planes. Hee hee hee. But it just flat out, I think in the next paragraph goes, that's definitely not going to be a thing until like the 22nd century at best at the
I
current
feel
rate.
I feel like that's a good timeline.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. And that's so sad to me. That's so, I just hate that. Knowing that like we have the idea and the means to like try this, but no, we don't want to give it funding. Like just figure it out on the back burner.
Yeah.
No, dude, the technology is beyond us, right? We just assume that technology will improve at a predictable rate, and that at that point in history, the math will work out for the battery size versus the propeller or whatever you're going to use to have solar powered fucking planes. It's just like the best guess thing. It's not like
Yeah,
we don't want to do it now. It's we can't do it now.
I don't think you're giving enough credit to drive. I don't think
Yeah.
there's a drive for anybody wanting to do that right now because there's no capital in it because all the money is in oil. That's why they're trying to build, they're trying to synthesize oil because that'll make us more money.
I don't know. There's lots. The American military just recently released the next version of the M1 Abrams, and it's like a Prius. It has an electric and a gas engine.
Ooh, a
Yeah,
hybrid war machine.
so that kind of technology is there, and the impetus to sparingly use fuel is there.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the math checks out on battery size versus throwing shit into the sky over a long fucking period of space
For
and
sure,
time.
yeah, and that's definitely the problem right now.
Yeah.
But what I was, this article's it's not super insightful, it's not super tantalizing, but it does bring up a good question of, and this is kind of the question I'm posing to the two of you to maybe round out the episode. How should we go about viewing and perhaps refurbishing the aviation industry?
Can I start?
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But we should set ground rules. I think we should do two different interpretations. One, what you think you could achieve if you had God powers and you could just reformulate society, and then a second interpretation that's more reasonable. You know what I mean?
I wasn't going to do either of those. I'm going to mention something that came up in the book Ministry for the Future. Great book.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Basically, climate change is getting out of control and people are getting really fed up with it. And there's this like Black Ops organization. I won't give any spoilers away, but basically they identify aircraft full of like business executives and CEOs and major shareholders, whatever. And then on one day, they release just like a ton of little drones in the path of all these aircraft, like a dozen or so of these aircraft, and send them all to the ground. People start referring to it as crash day because the markets just hit the floor at the same time. All air travel is suspended pretty much indefinitely because nobody can do it safely anymore. Is that a reasonable response? I don't know, but it is a response.
I don't know. I had a couple problems with that that alternate timeline. It was cool, and I liked it. Don't get me wrong, but like special forces tend to be like at the beck and call of the corporate executive class. Yeah, I mean that sounded a little fishy to me.
Wow.
And then also the reaction sounded too superb. You know what I mean? I feel like executives are really replaceable, and that there would just be a justification for the corporate right to advance its repression of the left in timeline even faster.
Yeah, I mean, it is a utopian novel, so it does take some liberties, but I don't know. I thought that was fun. I like the thought of that.
That was fun. It was a fun thought.
So your refurbishing of the aviation industry is
Destroy it.
Terrorism.
just to send little drones after them, just to pester them.
Yes,
And
eco-terrorism.
he didn't specify because he was afraid of the implications, but the drones are there to fly into an engine and bring down the plane and kill people, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's pretty violent. The way that I would refurbish the air industry is that we need to recognize that like it is costly to send people into the sky, and like dreams like Elon Musk has of fucking rocketing people to the other side of the earth are basically impossible under like physics calculations as they exist, right? Like the technology we have is just not sufficient, and that jet fuel is the only way that we can consistently do what we're doing right now. So we need to make decisions about what is really a priority in the air, I think. And so basically all air travel should be suspended almost indefinitely for commercial purposes, for personal purposes. You want to go travel to Ireland or Britain or whatever. I'm sorry, you're destroying the environment for your little fucking vacation. And that's no good. But there are some things about the aviation industry that, like, no matter the amount of political power I had, could never go away, right? Like, do you know which section of Rolls-Royce makes the most money for Rolls-Royce year over year?
Yes.
It's military engines, and it's all in airplanes. And so, those kinds of corporate state alliances are so deeply intertwined and so foundational to society, like the nation state and their I don't know, self-conception that they have this duty to assert their sovereignty, will mean that military aviation just cannot go away, right? And so that has to remain. And then I think emergency vehicles, like we were talking about earlier, like just like the emergency transport of patients and things like that, like Red Cross type equipment.
Yep.
And then finally, special packaging for like emergency government things. Like, what if you need to send, I don't know, it could be any number of things that needs to get from A to B fucking quick. Chiang Kai-shek has this great quote. He's talking about the Burma Road, right? The Burma Road was the road from British India to China that the British sent weapons along, right? And he said, give me 50 of these, I don't remember the plane class, it's civilian, it's like PC-50 or something like that. And it's just like a 1930s two-engine, basically what Indiana Jones rides in around the world, right? And he's like, give me 50 of those and you can close the damn Burma Road, right? And it's because planes can get shit from A to B, like, fast as fuck, and that is more valuable than getting lots of stuff sometimes, because you can concentrate stuff quickly and then use it for surprise and, defeat in detail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
so that's essential for governments.
I just want to lend a pragmatic approach. Also, is just fucking put the money in high-speed rail. Like,
absolutely behind that.
It makes so much more sense than air travel.
Mm-hmm. And intercontinental travel should be fucking expensive. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't understand the optimism, the rampant optimism behind everyone in the Western Anglosphere should be able to travel basically with impunity throughout the world for very cheap. Pretty crazy to me. But
yeah, it is pretty nuts that we live in a time where travel is considered something a little mundane. Oh, it's something you're obligated to do, when in reality you're hurling yourself at incredible speeds around the earth to go to a different point.
Exactly. It's a societal, like, minimum luxury that to be like upper middle class, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's maintained by just like the most brutal imperial regime the world has ever seen.
And then I don't know, what I often think of is comparing it to even our ancestors of 100 years ago, but maybe a little more, that, getting to the town over, for getting to Toronto, for example, that's such an endeavor. And these days it's like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I got to go to Toronto to pick up some thing from some guy I talked to on Kijiji.
In my favorite movie ever, Lawrence of Arabia, the Alec Guinness playing an Arab doing brownface, he says, what makes the English great is that they have a navy and they can go wherever they want because of that. That was such an innovation at the time, that like a mechanical navy, the early 1900s, this still is, right? And then the advancement beyond that, right? Like that is seen as primitive nowadays, right? Compared to that. And they conquered the entire earth with that in technology, right? Imagine that what you can do with that. And the Americans have imagined. They have imagined as much as world dominance will allow, like.
Yeah, with their fancy flying toys.
Yeah, for 10,000 generations, people have like wished to fly through the sky with the birds and everything, and now we get to do that. But we're like, oh, I got a fucking aisle seat.
Yeah, I would love to fly. Don't get me wrong, I would love to fly like a biplane or something like that and learn to fly, but myself. But I just see that as like something personally liberatory. But I understand that the resources required for that could never be, socialist achievable. You know what I mean? So I've let that go.
I don't know about that.
You know what? You're right. You could probably have like flying clubs and teach people to do it socialistically. You're right.
It's feasible.
You're right.
Just like air Ubers, like a collective of,
Oh my God.
hey, yeah, we're going over here. Who needs a lift?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm against that because those are always adapted. Those types of clubs are always adapted for military use. Stalin was the first one to invent flying clubs. Like not a great look. All right, only 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
I'm not doing my letter.
Sure,
So.
yeah, I'll continue on this bit for a little while longer. Another part of this article is this growing group of conscientious objectors who are, you know, they're saying there's a lot of people coming out and saying, you know what, yeah, no more flying until the industry can become not a total bag of shit. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to participate in aviation travel. Is that even worth it? Does that even make a difference?
No.
What are there even goals, right? I'm sure they just want like more accountability with bag check. You know what I mean? Like and really the option there to improve the airlines beyond the shit that people like general people, not weirdos like us, see it as, is just to nationalize it. You know what I mean? And just have the government run it.
I believe it's more of an eco movement.
Yeah.
It's more in that case, like, oh, stop polluting, planes are bad, kind of thing.
Well, in that case, there's nothing to be done, and they're basically just praying.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. I see the pursuit. You know, I see the ideal as noble, but it does seem a little pathetic, to put it in not a very nice way.
Yeah. You know, just speaking of nationalized, you know Air Canada was a fucking publicly owned company until 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Isn't
that
Not
crazy?
even that long ago. There are people alive who experienced that.
If I was alive in the 70s when all the privatization efforts started to really ramp up along like the nationally owned assets throughout the developed world, I would be just baffled by that. You know, like, you mean you're gonna offer the government like a finite amount of money? You know, like just things that we print, we make the money,
A one-time
right?
payoff.
For an infinite asset. That's the good deal you're offering me, and that's progress. I'd be like, this guy needs to be killed. He needs to be killed.
Yeah, it's like when you're playing like a long form game, you know, like a map game or a Civ, and something comes up being like, you could get this much now, or you could get like a little bit for a long time.
Forever.
You're
yeah.
just like, what? No, I don't even need to think about that. Get out of my face.
Yeah, it's the year 2000 BC. You can get 5 gold now or 1 gold per year for the rest of the game.
No. Imagine that. Like, you're a pharaoh, right? In ancient Egypt, and you're managing the tax system and the administration and the priesthood and ultimately the farming, right? You have a completely communist state, basically, is how the ancient Egyptians worked. And someone comes up to you and goes, I have like a pile of gold I could offer you for, like, you know, taxi service on the Nile forever. And they'd be like, what? Right? Like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, but hey, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Unfortunately, the actors that sold off national assets, they understood what they were doing. They knew that it wasn't forever, that eventually we would be conquered by America, and that it wouldn't matter, and that their family and their personal ambitions were best served by committing treason, in my opinion, and serving American imperial ambitions.
They took the route that was better for them in the present rather than better for everyone in the long term.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I laughed at those conscientious objectors, but I realized I am one as well. I refuse to drive on the 407 so long as it's privately owned.
We all pick our petty battles.
No, that's a fine battle to take. I drive the 407 because I'm privileged. I hate that too, though. Like, I could never be convinced of the logic that something that is, you know, as publicly necessary as a road should be owned by anyone other than the state. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy. Makes no sense.
Private roads in like a cul-de-sac to me are disgusting, let alone a highway, right? Like,
yeah, a major highway around Canada's largest city. Oh yeah, we'll sell that to you. Sure.
If you don't have public access to your house, you are effectively saying that you don't want to be part of society, right?
Yeah.
You should face consequences for that, I think.
All right. Nice.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only consequence this week was listening to Julian. Have a good summer, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
You won't say it now.
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
you. Oh, fuck me.